You're listening to The Luxury Item, the podcast on the business of luxury and the people and companies that are shaping the future of the luxury industry. Here's your host, Scott Kerr.
American consumers, if not global consumers, have become subscription nation. Sure, there are staples like Netflix and Spotify and cell phone plans, but we've only recently been on the subscription box kick, and its impact has been shaking up e-commerce. According to McKinsey, the subscription e-commerce market is worth about $12 to $15 billion. For an industry that's been around for about a decade or so, and most of the players much less, that's impressive growth. According to Fast Company article, there were 3,500 subscription box services as of late 2018, an increase of 40% from the year before. Why have consumers become addicted to subscription services? Studies have shown us that receiving a package, even when it's a consumer ordering it for themselves, is seen from the brain's reward center like receiving a gift. On top of that, consumers are drawn to subscriptions and deliveries because everyone likes tasks to be automated. There are boxes for beauty, like Birchbox, boxes for clothing, for Stitch Fix, fragrances from Scentbird, meal kits from HelloFresh, dog stuff for BarkBox, craft beers selected by experts or on tap for monthly payment, and a Peloton subscription to burn off all those calories. But what about luxury subscription boxes? After all, affluent consumers deserve the same convenience and joy of receiving monthly packages like everyone else. My very special guest today on The Luxury Item is Daniel Curtis, the founder and CEO of Robb Vices. Daniel launched Robb Vices luxury subscription box in 2018 with the idea of bringing the content from the legendary Robb Report to life. If you're not familiar with Robb Report, it's a luxury lifestyle magazine that's been around for about 40 years and targets ultra-affluent consumers, sometimes called the Bible of luxury. Robb Vices delivers a full box of curated high-end products, generally with a theme or story tying the products together in the box. Boxes include things like cigars, a gemstone cheese plate, premium chocolates, cashmere gloves, truffle mustard, a bottle of wine. I can go on and on. If any of the male characters in the Roy clan from the TV show Succession had a subscription box membership, it would probably be through Robb Vices. Welcome, Daniel.
Thank you for having me, Scott.
I'm thrilled to have you.
Appreciate the introduction.
So, before we jump in, I noticed something really stuck out at me. I think it was one of the boxes I was looking at from, might have been September, where you had a famous quote or lyrics I see sometimes you put on the inside lid of the box. And the one that I saw, I think it was in September, you had a quote from Abraham Lincoln. He said, "It has been my experience that folks who have no vices have very few virtues." So does that pretty much sum up what Robb Vices is about?
100%. Our core product is called Robb Vices, but what we're actually about is virtues. The things that we celebrate, in our experience, it typically it's wine, food, toys and tools, and things that we would normally have a chance to discover when we're traveling, when we're indulging ourselves, and these are traditionally called, vices in the most classic sense of the word. But these are the products that actually enrich our lives in the best ways when we appreciate them for the virtues that they actually bring to our lives. So our company is actually called Virtuous Vices.
Virtuous Vices.
And that's really our core philosophy.
Yeah, so Abraham Lincoln's quote. Who knew that Abraham Lincoln would have a quote about vices? I had not. I thought I knew all the Abraham Lincoln
quotes. He was
quotes.
clearly a very wise man.
So if you could tell our audience a little about from the beginning, what was the idea behind Robb Vices and how it spun off when you saw the idea spinning off from Robb Report?
Yeah, so my background, I had the happy privilege of growing up within Robb Report magazine. My family business was a publishing business focusing on niche media in luxury categories ranging from entertainment to yachting and to, of course, as you kindly referred to Robb Report as the Bible of luxury. And of course, I loved this brand and decided to join the family business. And what I always focused on in my about 10 years officially with the company was how are we going to, continue to tell our stories, communicate what authentic luxury is in a rapidly changing media landscape. I worked on creating more event strategies for welcoming in a younger side of our audience. We launched iPad applications and iPhone applications, ran around the world launching Robb Report magazine in countries all around the world to make it a truly global brand, and wanted to make sure that we found a way to bridge that gap, because everybody knows that magazines are not a growing business. People still love print media. People still value magazines, but you rarely see a newsstand anymore. And you go to the airport, and the granola bar section is 4 times the size of the newsstand. So this idea of a luxury subscription box came out of an effort to evolve the way that we share editorial content. I had an epiphany moment after a meeting with one of our top clients, Diageo, Johnny Walker Blue. We had a great partnership with Johnny Walker Blue for many years, and for them, rather than asking for the normal things that advertisers were pushing for, the positioning in the magazine, the digital added value, it was all about how many events can you throw where you're going to get our liquid into your readers' mouths. We want your editorial. We want your to be recognized that we have your endorsement, of course, which is not something that you can buy. But they need someone to walk in and say, this is something that we believe in. And we want people to actually have that discovery experience. And so I left there thinking, and we finalized a massive advertising deal. I agreed to do way too many events. I spent 18 months of my life running around the country pouring Johnny Walker Blue, which was actually a lot of fun.
Yeah, what's the downside?
But was thinking is we need to find a way to scale this discovery experience. So thought, well, let's actually put the things that we're writing about in a package that's going to go along with our magazine. And then that idea evolved into, let's actually create an editorial magazine that comes to life in an experience that we're going to curate. So actually in the end of 2015, we did this as kind of a test project. We put together a box, and the first theme, the story, was a story of Brooklyn. And in 2015 and continuing today, Brooklyn is a leading geographical destination for where you go if you want to launch a beautiful artisanal product, whether it's, artisanal pickles, cheese, popcorn, cheese, sunglasses. Brooklyn is one of those places that you go to make your mark. And what a beautiful turnaround from, a couple decades ago when it was one of the capitals of violent crime in America. And so we decided to have that be the theme of, the future of luxury. And here we're changing our editorial experience. And we highlighted about a dozen craftspeople that made absolutely beautiful things. There was a cocktail shaker, a wonderful gin, the ingredients you need to make that a cocktail with that gin. And we created a fun experience about diving into what's happening in Brooklyn. And
this is all different parts of Brooklyn you would cover?
Yeah, it was all different types of Brooklyn, absolutely everywhere. Every product was either physically made in Brooklyn or designed by someone who lives there. And it was a little clunky. We hadn't figured out what we were doing. It came in 2 boxes, but it went out to 100 members who had opted in without really knowing what this was going to be, that came from our top VIP list. And immediately the feedback was phenomenal. We were getting phone calls saying this is the coolest thing that we've seen, and I realized that we were really onto something. I then took our second box, which had these beautiful Master and Dynamic headphones, an artisanal bourbon coated popcorn, a bottle of Dolce, which is an American Sauterne, which is phenomenal, and brought that to our big driving event in Napa Valley, where I was showing it to billionaires and people who are titans of the financial sector and entertainment. And everybody signed up as soon as they saw the box. And again, the feedback we were getting was, this is wonderful. And so realized that we had something very special, and decided that we were actually going to create this as a new way of storytelling. Actually spun this out as a separate company in partnership with Robb Report. And that actually happened at the beginning of 2016. And we started to grow organically, and every month it's, okay, let's approach this like the editorial calendar of a magazine. What are the stories that I want to tell? What are the things that I personally love? I'm a huge wine and spirits geek. It's one of my favorite things to focus on. I'm a cigar smoker. I love the things that bring people together in celebration. So we decided to start, with every month, we're going to put together a collection of items that's not only going to, be cool stuff that you're going to want to have, but a reason to get friends together and try something new with other people.
That's a great idea. So did you, right from the beginning, because I know the boxes have a booklet in it with this, pretty much it tells a story about, or a theme about what's in the box and the story behind it, and the thinking behind it. For your first box, did it also have a booklet and a story like the Brooklyn one? Similar type of thing? It
did. We've evolved that booklet quite a bit. The first box actually had a series of cards that everything was on. We hadn't quite figured out the packaging and the printed materials in that first box. By about the third box, we realized, we're going to create a nice digest of a magazine, creating, unique editorial that celebrates these brands. And we, that is really the signature of our subscription box. Not all subscription boxes are the same. There's a lot of replenishment boxes like Dollar Shave Club out there where you're getting something where you're going to need. There's the sample boxes. There's a million of those beauty boxes out there. But we really are an evolution of an editorial platform. And telling a story, whether it's about the experience you would have if you traveled to a sacred Japanese spa where you're going to be dipping into a sacred hot spring, and the sake you would be drinking, and the minerals that would be exposed to your body would be exposed to in that process. We tell that story in a magazine, which is the signature of what we do. And what we find is people love tactile media. People still enjoy magazines. You're just not used to, reading content that way. And it's a really engaging way to really learn something, to hold something in your hands. And it's much more pleasurable to read an article in print than it is on your phone. So that's really what we give you. It's a concise, nicely presented story that's going to introduce you and create an emotional connection with the products that you've just discovered.
And when it also does, the people who are receiving the box, and you have a story behind it, and they've all of a sudden become experts after reading what each of the products are about that you have in there, that they're able to tell when people come over to their place about these things. So they've become sort of the orators of your brand. And they've become these mini experts all of a sudden. And I'm sure there's a lot of joy in for them to tell others about what's in the box.
100%. I mean, there is nothing more powerful than word of mouth marketing. And, really understanding a luxury clientele and what's interesting to them. There's a lot of joy in being the host and being the generous host. And, everybody has that friend where you go out to a restaurant and you hand that friend the wine list. And because that this guy's going to make the right choice. Right. Or it's someone who's going to point to something at the bar when you're sitting down and being like, you should really try this stuff. That's our customer. The person that aspires to be that person, or the person who's always looking for new things to share. Right. Our customers are generous. We definitely recognize the tremendous good in people, and that people want to share things, people want to have these wonderful experiences. And we try to make every box that we have a true moment of joy that's going to brighten your life a little bit. It's fun,
How do you how do you come up with the idea each month of saying that, like, what is the process? And say, well, this is the story we want to tell next month. How do you do that? Is it something that you look out into, the culture, pop culture, what's going on there, what's going on in different parts of the world that influence it, different experiences that are unexpected? How do you go about coming up with those ideas?
Yeah, we really approach it similar to how a magazine is built. And we look at the trends that are relevant to culture today. And sometimes we will build a box on a singular product that's phenomenal. We discovered a new champagne to market last year called Mod Selection, which is just tremendously world class. And after tasting it, we're like, we've got to change things around. This has to be in the next box. But more often than not, we're looking at what people are actually doing, what they're playing with, what they're tasting.
Who's doing that? Who is doing that?
There's a small.
That's a big job.
Exactly. Right. There's a small group of us that are really focused on this, and I do rely on a network of journalists, writers that I've worked with for many, many years who are kind of my eyes and ears on the ground around the world.
A street team.
But also, I've been a student of luxury my entire life. And I am passionate about these things, and I travel, and everywhere I go, any restaurant I go to, I look at what they're serving, what they give us to. I look at the way that they're serving things, and is there a different method? When we travel somewhere, what is something that they do when they're toasting that's different than the way that we do it here? I stumbled upon the art of champagne sabrage, where people open up a bottle of champagne with a sword and said, that has to be in a box. So we put a George Jensen sword in a box with a bottle of champagne with instructions on how you do this without hurting yourself.
Good. Good.
And that was...
Do not try this at home, or try this at home. Whenever.
So in his example, the box that we brought today, it was the first box of the new year, and so wanted to look at the trend in beverage right now. Again, we love drinking the good stuff. And so there's actually 2 bottles that we included in this box. We're seeing a couple of trends that are very interesting. One is that brown spirits, aged whiskeys have been hot for many years. There was a huge boom in the boom started with single malts when that came to the States and people really started collecting. But then there was a dramatic change that happened with bourbon. And all of a sudden, bourbon's the hottest thing in the world. And I used to be able to get a bottle of Pappy Van Winkle for $60, and now if you're lucky, you can buy one for $3,000. What we're seeing now is there's a trend of really unique artisanal single malts coming back to the U.S. So after the trendy whiskeys went to Japan and Ireland, I really believe that this is an American decade of whiskey once again. And we're seeing single malts being made in every state. And I mean, from New Mexico to Virginia, where your new bottle from Virginia Distillery Co. comes from. This is a really unique whiskey that starts as a sour mash from Scotland that is then aged in port casks in Virginia, making for a really unique flavor profile, either on its own or in a cocktail. And so we talk about this trend, we talk about this particular company in the whiskey and the people behind it, and want to introduce you to your own journey, because now that you know this, you might look out for that whiskey that's being made in Northern California or in Utah or Montana. And it's going to open you up to
your own
new horizons. Exactly.
Right. So hence the Henry David Thoreau quote that you have in the booklet. It's not what you look at that matters, it's what you see.
100%. The other bottle that it comes in this box speaks to another trend that we're seeing right now, where there is this rapid millennial trend of moderation, which is great. We're very much, we like to celebrate in quantity, but everybody knows that you can't overdo it. You need balance in your life in all aspects. And we definitely celebrate that. We in our editorial, we try to remind people, of course, to make smart decisions. And we found this company called Seedlip a couple of years ago, and we didn't know if this would actually have traction. Effectively, it's booze-free booze.
Wow.
This is a bottle, a distilled spirit that is entirely non-alcoholic. And it's a bizarre concept until you experience it. When you open this and you smell it, and there's amazing botanicals that really give you a unique sensory experience, and you taste this and you make a cocktail, and it makes a wonderful Moscow Mule or a martini, a gin and tonic. And there's sometimes when you want the broader experience of drinking, or the social experience of drinking, but you don't need alcohol in your system at that moment. This is a very cool product that is new, and it is going to change the way that we as a culture drink. And we celebrate the fact that cocktail culture gives us a reason to get together in person. Mm-hmm. What I love about a great drink, a great cigar, is these are the things that really get us to put down our phone and look at somebody across from us and invest time into other people, which is something that we have to do more of.
Absolutely.
I always say, like, whiskey is going to save the world, because
it brings people together.
Exactly. Stop yelling at each other, sit down, have a conversation. We've got more in common than we don't. And there's a lot to love about the world.
how do you find customers who aren't necessarily looking for Robb Vices or know about it? So how do you find those customers?
One of the huge advantages that we have is that we ourselves are a marketing platform. So the companies, like the two great bottles that you have now, they work with us in part because they're looking to get exposure to a new audience. Our boxes themselves are a word of mouth moment. When you open this box, it's exciting. It's like Christmas comes to your door, Christmas morning comes to your doorstep once a month. And that moment, you're typically going to show other people. You're going to try something. You're going to have a friend over, and you're going to try this together. It has an amazing ripple effect. And so we have a built-in word-of-mouth marketing backbone that grows our business. And now we've also seen so that we can count on to a certain extent.
Is there a refer a friend type of incentive? Or
we're about to launch a new program.
Yeah.
Most of the ones that I see out there, our members aren't going to care, refer a friend and we'll give you $50 or
right,
something, nominal. That's not really that interesting. Right. What we're going to do is, refer 3 friends and we're going to send you a bottle of Dom Perignon.
That's a good incentive.
Refer a dozen friends and we're going to send you a case. We're going to start doing some of these things, that help just make it fun. And, we've seen that our members like to share. They're generous. And so stoking that is definitely something that we're looking to do. And we are looking at the methods where, we can have the people that communicate the experience, this unique and it's a little different. Subscribing for a luxury product where you don't know what you're going to receive every month, it takes a true open mind. And the most important moment in a new subscriber, whether we know we're going to retain that subscriber or not, is after the first box. It's, sometimes we see that people saw that, wow, this guy got this awesome whiskey from Virginia, and they might have received our chocolate and cashmere box as their first box. So, we always have to find a way to make sure that we explain that this is about trying new things across a number of categories.
Right, which is the question. Pretty much my next question is, how do you provide that consistent value to customers to prevent those churn rates from happening? How do you surprise and delight them in a way every month so they understand that the concept is about learning about new things and telling other people about things that they've learned trying new products? And do you find that they get that?
Yeah, so I think the key is making sure that people understand the value proposition going into it. As far as how do we deliver this collection on a monthly basis, the world is a big and wonderful place. People being in this job is inspiring because we see how many amazing things are being, luxury products are amazing for the world. And there's people that are creating innovative, high quality, beautiful product that is new on a daily basis. And so there's no shortage of wonderful things to introduce people to. What we find is, making sure that people are open to that discovery experience is, you need to buy into the fact that, there's going to be some things that are new, some things that are uncomfortable. There will be some things that are not for you. But where we have seen the majority of our members, how they respond to that is it ends up being a great gift no matter what. It's always going to be products of quality. If this isn't for you, this is going to be something that there's going to be, you're not a cigar smoker, but somebody who loves a good cigar. And, you can
right. So it's not right. These aren't what you have in here, even if it doesn't appeal to your taste. It's not one of these things that you say, well, I'll just put that in the closet with the rest of the stuff. This is something you would want to share with someone you know.
Absolutely. And what we've actually found when we first launched this, I was thinking that this was a product that was really for, the millennial male market. What we found is that the traditional Robb Report reader, really from age range from 27 to 67, really adopted this product. So it's not just a millennial product. It's for a broader audience. And we also found that the most successful, group of consumers that really stayed with us and that this made sense for were couples, people that were enjoying this together. Mm-hmm. because it's an experience. When this is something that you can share with someone else, it becomes much more meaningful than things. You're just getting a box of stuff.
Right. Do you do anything in between the periods that they get the boxes to keep them, engaged or excited?
Yeah. So we expand the editorial that we do in our magazine online. We create video, and we have a lot of digital forms of media that help people further understand some of these cool and bizarre things that they've received. Recently, we launched an e-commerce boutique called vicesreserve.com, and that's a place where you can purchase more of the things that you've discovered in the box. And as we look at the future of this company, we really do see this as a marketplace where we had a lot of people that we'd have these beautiful. One example is we had beautiful crystal glasses from Turkey that had skulls etched in the bottom that came in time for Halloween. And we had people calling us saying, these are amazing, but I only have 2. I need a complete set. And so we realized we needed a channel where we could have people complete and have an easy place to discover and purchase more product, which is an important part of the development of our business. So we've now also created additional things where limited edition boxes and cool products that we've found that are available to our members on an ongoing basis.
Right. So like any subscription product, it's measurable. So what do you look at for measurements each month?
In
just measuring success, whether it's working or not working.
We send out periodic emails that are very specific. So we do survey our members to see how is this responded. Of course, we track our customer service, response, and a big part of it is, the being there for the unboxing for certain people and really seeing it.
Any videos yet of the unboxings?
Oh yeah,
okay.
we've one of the things when you look at the ways that you go and reach new audiences, we've tried the influencer thing, which in some cases is successful, in some cases not so successful. But we've kind of found this whole community of subscription box devotees that they video and create highly produced, videos with this box, which are actually kind of fun to watch.
Yeah. So what do you see at this point the greatest challenge for growth? What's going on in the marketplace that you see as a challenge, and how do you see overcoming those challenges?
Well, I think as we look at the best methods to grow, for us, we have to make sure that we're growing with the right customer. And so going to the right, a lot of digital marketing channels are really designed around discount, monetary value, and that creates a customer that's not meant for retention. Our initial customers that came from Robb Report at the beginning have almost all stayed with us now for 4 years. We find certain channels that are really made for buying direct-to-consumer shoes or electronics. It's all about a quick transaction, and that's a customer that's not likely to stay with you. So the real focus is on not just on how low we can get our cost per acquisition, but how specialized we can be to make sure that this is the right audience that there's a market fit for.
Yeah. It's not, I just want to switch gears to the whole subscription commerce industry. So it's really not too far-fetched to say that one day perhaps everything as much of our lives will be subscription-based. So it seems like the main ingredient in creating these successful subscription services is investing in compelling content, and that makes this whole unboxing experience exciting every single time. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. I think the important thing about the industry overall is not every subscription box is the same business by any imagination. BarkBox delivers the pure pleasure of it's fun to give your dog a new toy, and it makes it easy. It comes directly to your door, and you've got something squeaky that you can give your dog, and you don't have to go to the pet store. So people do like the convenience of subscription boxes. People like discovery. People like not having to think too hard before having something wonderful happen. But a lot of these different boxes are fulfilling different needs. And the fact that distribution for shipping is getting better every year means that this is only going to be something that is used in more and more categories.
How do you see the whole space overall, the whole subscription box space?
I think it's going to continue.
Do you think there's some interesting and new ideas?
There are definitely interesting and new ideas, but it's going to look much different than it did a couple of years ago with the big booms of Birchbox. Many of these companies grew too quickly. They didn't have business models that make sense, and some of these, these food delivery services where you're getting, perishable food, the sheer expense of actually getting that done, logistics, don't work. But so I think we're seeing now the industry is learning, it's evolving, and it's also realizing that the subscription box is only part of the business. Just like we see that is one part of our business. E-commerce is another side of our business. And we stumbled upon the fact that our box curation and presenting things beautifully in a unique box is actually something that other luxury brands need. So one of our big areas of development this year is creating luxury packages curated with wonderful items that will help you, whether or not you're a real estate developer, whether you're a private jet operator, a jeweler, will help you communicate with your own audience and create something that's unique and engaging that helps you tell your story that way.
All right. So thinking about some of the perhaps listeners who are thinking about getting into the subscription box industry. What are some of the learnings that you can share since you launched Robb Vices?
First thing is make sure that you're going to be delivering something that people want. I think there's a lot of people that have launched boxes that the product itself, doesn't really have a market fit. But even if it's a clever idea, make sure that on an ongoing basis it makes sense. You're not delivering too much of something. I think make sure that the cadence of delivery also makes sense. What we're actually seeing is we're looking at a version of our membership where it's not monthly but every other month, because sometimes monthly is too much. So I think that's a very important consideration. And the biggest lesson that the industry overall has really seen in the last few years is, taking venture capital money and growing at all costs is not a recipe for success. We've seen a lot of the big players in the market that grew too quickly before substantiating their business model, and that had disastrous results. So making sure that the product itself is special and that there's a real reason you're going to want to have this on an ongoing basis. And really approaching the product, I think, with heart and love, and making sure you are communicating something that matters. We're seeing that boxes are very popular among millennial women. Any plans of launching a Robb Vices targeting women? It's something that people constantly bring up and that we've thought about. What we've actually found is that women are a big portion of our current subscriber base. Often they'll subscribe for their boyfriend, their husband, their brother, their son, but then they see something there that they like. And what we do have right now is, frankly, about 30% of our members are this badass kind of woman who loves a good tequila and will actually opt for a ghost pepper artisanal hot sauce and, can take spicy food like anyone else. I don't know if launching something that we've had a lot of people say, why don't you launch a pink box for women? And you can't pander to women.
Right.
You have to have a real proposition that makes sense. And there's a lot of things that I think would make sense. So when the time's right, we probably will have a new offering. And by the way, we have launched several expansion offerings already. We have a cigar subscription specifically for cigar smokers called Cigar by Vices. We've just launched a new spirits club called Rarity Club, which I'm very excited about. The first box is going out momentarily. And that's really designed for the spirits collector, things that you normally would not get access to that are very fine and rare. It's going to be available only in select markets. And so I could see something that's more female-focused being one of the ways that we expand our expression. But we got to make sure that we really hone in on what that is. There's plenty of beauty boxes on the market. Right. The world does not need another one of those. And again, we want to make sure that our current product is relevant for both men and women so that everybody can share it together.
Great. So my final question, which I ask all the guests, if you were stranded on a deserted island and you could have one luxury item with you. It can't be a form of transportation to get you off that island.
So no jet ski.
No jet ski, jets. Can't be any type of mobile service or mobile device. What would that one luxury item be?
I'm going to hope that there's sugarcane growing on the island, and I'm going to say a traditional Caribbean pot still for distilling my own rum, because you can't just bring one bottle, that'll go too quickly. So, I'm going to have to spend my time distilling my own rum on my desert island. Because what good is it to be on an island without having something to sip on?
Right. And if you're going to be on a deserted island, you want to be happy all the time. So why not distill rum?
Exactly.
Good answer. Daniel, thank you so much. You've been a great guest. Appreciate the box that is this the January box that you shared with me? Thank you for sharing that with me. That was really nice. I can't wait to dip into the is it Seedlip?
Yeah, Seedlip and Virginia Distilling Company.
Distillery.
And you also have some glasses from Craft House and some garnishes to complete the experience, as well as a really cool smoked orange ginger beer to make a cocktail.
Great, thank you. And one more thing, a little plug. If any of our listeners want to check out Robb Vices, where do they go?
RobbVices.com. RobbVices.com.
Great. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.
That's it for this episode of the Luxury Item Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. If you found this useful and entertaining, I would be really grateful if you can share it with a friend or colleague. I would love it if you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And while you're there, be sure to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It really helps other listeners find us. The Luxury Item Podcast is a production of Silvertone Consulting. I'm your host, Scott Kerr. Until next time.